All right, let's talk about how to dress for the winter. And before I start, keep in mind that these men's fashion 101 videos are designed for the guys that are just starting off at a beginner level and don't know where to begin when it comes to men's style. So if that's you, keep watching and let's get straight into it. Now, the first thing we need to do is establish a basic understanding about what's different with winter fashion and fall fashion. Because at first they can seem pretty similar, and they can be depending on the climate that you're in, but there are some differences to take into consideration. The first is that the fabric choices are going to change, and especially if you're in a really cold part of the world. Fall fashion has a bit of leeway because of the transition from summer. The first half of fall tends to be a bit warmer as we shift into the season, and then it gets progressively colder over time as we get closer to winter. So the fluctuating temperatures of fall tends to lend itself better to wearing lighter pieces and fabrics that aren't as insulating in case you get too warm or the temperature just isn't that cold outside. But the winter season is different in the sense that it can be freezing cold every single day depending on where you're at, or at least colder than fall. So fabrics like cotton, polyester, denim, linen, and chambray become suboptimal because they aren't insulating enough. Instead, other fabrics become a better choice, like wool, especially heavier wool options in merino wool, cashmere, fleece, and pieces filled with down. All of these fabrics have the ability to keep you warmer than the former options. And this even applies down to your socks. Wool socks will be a better choice than cotton socks for keeping your feet warm, so keep the details of your outfit in mind. Now, after fabric, the next big difference is the type of outerwear you'll choose. In the fall, it's easier to get away with lighter weight options like bomber jackets, Harringtons, denim jackets, and that may still work in some warmer parts of the world, but for those of you battling colder temperatures, heavier outerwear options are going to be the way to go. So some good options for heavier outerwear are parkas, top coats, pea coats, thick cardigans, and insulated coats like puffer jackets. Parkas are good for extreme cold because of their faux fur lining, and they're usually longer to provide more coverage for your body. Wool top coats are an option that give you a good balance between warmth and style. I like these a lot for climates that are cold but not frigid with snow or sub-zero temperatures. Pea coats are shorter than top coats and have more of a casual vibe to them, which makes them versatile for a lot of different occasions. They're usually made of heavier wool and provide you with a good blend of warmth and a classic look that just never goes out of style. Thick cardigans, especially those with shawl collars, are great for layering, and you can wear them all on their own or under a jacket for additional warmth. You can also take them on and off easily if you go indoors and it's just too warm for the additional layers. Puffer jackets filled with down or synthetic fibers provide you with good insulation, and they're typically lighter weight than they appear. The quilted design of a typical puffer jacket is good at trapping heat, and many of them are also water resistant, so they can be a good casual option for everyday wear. Now, this isn't an exhaustive list of all the heavier outerwear options out there, but it'll give you a solid starting point to build up your wardrobe with pieces that will last you regardless of trends. And of course, we can't talk about outerwear options in cold temperatures without discussing layering. In general, when you layer in the winter, you'll want to layer from thinnest to thickest. So think of having something like a t-shirt on with a merino wool sweater over the top and then a top coat as your final layer. You don't want to do the reverse and have thick layers closest to your body first because you won't be able to cool down by removing the layers. Also, another tip is to keep in mind that multiple thin layers tend to trap heat better than a few bulky ones because the air that's trapped between each layer of clothing acts as an insulator and can wick away moisture better. You also want your outermost layer to typically be more plain and neutral in its appearance. Loud or bold outer layers makes it harder to match with other pieces and can sometimes be overpowering visually. And so far we've talked about fabric, outerwear, and layering, so let's talk about color now. As a general rule of thumb, darker colors tend to go better with colder temperatures and lighter colors with warmer temperatures. In the fall, earth tones tend to work great with the season and the colors of the changing leaves and nature outside that mimic those colors, and they can continue to work into winter as well. But darker colors like charcoal, black, and navy tend to be more appropriate for the cold climate, and especially when it comes to outerwear. Now, that doesn't mean to not wear any lighter colors at all. In fact, it's good practice to have some light layers mixed in order to give your outfit and body some contrast and shape. Otherwise, you risk looking like a blob of one color, especially if you're wearing bulkier pieces. So bring out the darker shades, but layer them with lighter shades to keep the shape to your silhouette. When it comes to texture, cable knit, tweed, and wool provide a nice look for the winter months that looks good, and these textures are typically part of pieces that are warmer for the season. When you're layering textures, start with just wearing one piece that is textured to see how it looks and then go from there. If you add more textured layers, make sure that the textures are different or else they'll clash. So for example, if you have a rougher or a more textured piece, make the next layer a smoother piece to give your outfit more contrast and separation instead of just stacking the same textures on top of each other. Now, if you've watched my previous videos, you'll know I'm a big fan of boots in general, especially for the colder seasons, so I won't rehash too much to avoid being repetitive, but there are a few aspects to be aware of for the winter season specifically. I'm a big fan of suede boots, but suede boots are going to be more risky due to the wet conditions in a lot of areas, so if you're going to wear them at all, you'll want to spray them with a water repellent spray that is specifically made for suede material so you don't harm your boots. And then be sure to keep them brushed and clean after each wear. Suede is generally not a good choice for wet climates though, so I'd probably choose something else. And for your leather boots, you'll want to take care of the leather and keep them polished and in condition to prevent damage from the elements. This is especially important if you're in a snowy area and you're walking through the slush on roads and sidewalks all the time. You want to think of leather like how you think of your skin. Just like how lotion keeps your skin hydrated and prevents dryness and cracking, applying polish and conditioner to leather shoes keeps them in good shape and prevents the leather from drying out and cracking. So keeping up on regular care of your leathers is like moisturizing your skin. It keeps the leather healthy and ensures your shoes stay in good condition and last longer. The other thing to pay attention to is the sole of the boots. If you're in an icy, snowy area or an area that gets a lot of rain, you're going to want to opt for boots that have a rubber sole rather than a leather sole. The rubber will be more resistant to moisture and help you grip the ground more safely. The last thing you want to be doing is slipping and sliding everywhere because your leather soles can't get any traction on the ground, and that can obviously be really dangerous. I also had a viewer ask me about boots for the winter that are good at keeping your feet warm because typical leather boots weren't doing the job. And the answer is to pick a boot that has a quality exterior material like full grain or top grain leather, and then a lined interior. Boots that are lined with shearling or materials like Primaloft or Thinsulate are going to trap heat inside your boots much better than a boot that doesn't have any lining at all. Also look for boots that have a Goodyear welt construction. It'll usually be listed in the description online. Goodyear welt is a higher quality construction style that provides better durability and also offers a bit more water resistance due to the construction style, but they aren't completely waterproof, so be aware of the difference there. Some lining is also removable, which is helpful if you need to remove them to be cleaned and dried. And also, again, it's worth bringing up, choose wool socks over cotton socks. Wool is better at keeping your feet warm and wicking away moisture than cotton, which is actually moisture absorbent and doesn't wick away the moisture. Accessories are also an important part of winter, just like they are for any season, and the cold temperature opens up a few more options that you don't get in other seasons, such as scarves, gloves, and certain kinds of hats. Now, one of the best casual options are beanies made from cashmere or wool, and baseball caps with a heavier weight and material to them are a good choice as well if you're in a climate that isn't too frigid. If you want a classier or more vintage replacement for a baseball cap or a beanie, flat caps can also be a good choice. Leather lined or suede gloves can add a classy masculine touch to a winter outfit that keeps your hands warm while still looking good. Just avoid wearing anything like mittens or anything with a fluffy pom-pom on them. Aside from gloves and hats, scarves are also a great timeless piece to incorporate, and they can give you some extra warmth. Scarves made from wool or cashmere that are plain or have a minimal knit pattern typically look the best. And you can either drape these around your neck, wrap them around once, or tie them in a way like a Parisian knot. Just avoid any oversized scarves or scarves that add a lot of bulk to your look. You want these to be a classy, minimal addition to your outfit, not an overpowering, awkward pile of fabric. And don't forget sunglasses either. It might be cold outside, but if you've ever experienced the glare of the sun off the snow or a wet road, you know how blinding the sun can be. Choose sunglasses that block out 100% of UV rays and consider polarized lenses. But in terms of style, classic choices like aviators, wayfarers, or clubmasters tend to look good on most faces, and gold frames tend to look better on warmer skin tones, whereas silver frames tend to complement cooler skin tones. Now, if you're not a fan of those styles of sunglasses, then check out a face shape diagram to identify your face shape, and then go look up options of sunglasses that go well with that shape. But in general, most guys will look good in aviators, wayfarers, and clubmasters. Another thing to consider is when you're buying pieces for the winter, stick to buying pieces that make sense for your location and environment. It can be easy to buy something that you think you'll need, but you actually don't. For example, investing in a heavy parka when you're in an area that rarely drops below 40 degrees is probably a bad investment. And this is how we end up with a bunch of clothes that never get worn and we end up donating them or selling them off later. Instead, it's a better idea to start small at first and build up over time as you find a need for more pieces, and then invest your money in quality clothing that will last you a long time. This This is especially true for outerwear and footwear. Quality outerwear and footwear can last you years and years if you buy a quality piece from the start and take care of it. Now, with all that said, if you want more style tips, make sure to check out the free ebook that I put together down in the description below, or check out more of the videos here on this channel, like this one right here, where I go over some of the basic principles of men's style and how you can start dressing better today. And I will see you in the next one.